It's Thursday, April 25th, Friday, April 26th. If you're on the East Coast, across the pond, or down under, and this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. Hope you had a great day and night. I am your host, Dave Scott, broadcasting to you live from the Great White North, on top of the mountains of central British Columbia, right here at SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show, including Deep Talk Radio and Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we are currently under construction for another couple weeks, but don't worry, we're going to make it bigger and better for you. Tonight's show is brought to you by the YouTube channel Insuho. Sebastien Martin brings high-quality messages to the masses. Head to the YouTube channel and click on and subscribe to Insuho today. One of Canada's top mysteries when it comes to missing people is our topic tonight. Granger Taylor was a master mechanic who built a spaceship. One rainy day in November, he left a note for his family and then mysteriously vanished off the face of the earth. The story of the 32-year-old Taylor, who disappeared on November 20th, 1980, continues to baffle residents of the Vancouver Island town of Duncan, British Columbia. Upon his vanishing, Taylor's family found a note saying he was about to embark on a most unconventional journey, a 42-month odyssey aboard an alien spaceship. But he's never been seen again. Tonight, to talk about this strange case and other UFO phenomena, Sebastien Martin from Insuho. Then in the bottom of hour number 3, I will bring you the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. Of course, all of our news put together by our news director, Captain Shirk. Sebastien Martin, it's been a few months since we had you on the air, but you are always welcome here, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much, Dave, for having me again.
Now, I got to tell you right now, I love the ambiance. Absolutely loving the ambiance of the frogs and the toads in behind your voice.
Yes, I am outside. Indeed.
Don't blame you. Don't blame you. What a beautiful night for where you are. Sebastien, before we get into our topic tonight, let's learn a little bit about you. You are someone who is very engaged in the UFO phenomena, maybe not on the popular side that is making the media, but you like getting your name out there. What happened to you to lead you down this path?
Well, my story really started in 2011 when I had my own encounter. So I am an experiencer. I didn't know what experiences were until I got the verbiage to associate my experiences with it. I basically had an ET encounter in my living room in November of 2011. And at that time, I was just running a multinational in a honey business industry, and I had staff all over the world. I had offices in Canada, the US, New Zealand, and the UK. So I basically had no time for the consciousness movement or the UFOs. I wasn't really thinking about it. I had a perfect straight life, no outside stories to share, and then that experience completely changed my life, and not just to the experience itself, but also the information that came with it. So as time went by, I have learned a great deal about different races of aliens, but also the types of experiences I got involved into down the line, all paying attention to synchronicity, to psychic attacks, to having out-of-body experiences, remembering information from my past through hypnosis. I went through the whole thing. So that really changed my whole viewpoint on the consciousness movement and the UFO world. So that's what brings me to this show tonight as well, just to give you an update as to what I've learned, what I got in terms of information, and some of these pieces of information that I got involved into really baffled me, because it was not my viewpoint either. I had a total different mentality before, and nowadays I'm more open because it starts to make more sense as to what's going to happen, as to what governments are doing, and what we should be considering very seriously. But we can talk about it later on.
For sure. When you saw that extraterrestrial and you had that firsthand contact right in front of you, what was that like? What was the creature like?
Well, the being looked like, for what I believe to be at the beginning, a Pleiadian. After researching it online, the man basically he was a boy, he looked like he was in his 20s. Even if he was a few thousands of years old, he was with me in my living room. I could see him the way I would see someone else standing there. And he appeared after I sat down on my sofa because I saw his face pretty much the whole day. I woke up, that morning, seeing his face. I saw a bust of him, and he was looking at me with a strange smile, like a very big smile. And his eyes were 3 times the size of human eyes. His cheekbones were higher placed on the face than humans. He was very much humanoid. I mean, he had like ears, eyebrows. He had everything that you can imagine, but it was definitely not human. And when he looked at me, it sounded like he looked strange to me because he looked like he recognized me, but I had no idea who that being was. And when I woke up in the morning, I just I shrugged it off as a dream, and it felt like a dream. But I guess it was more than that because the face would not disappear for the whole day. And so that really disturbed me to the extent that I had to, send my wife went to bed with my daughter at the time, our daughter, and I sat down on the sofa, and then that's when I decided to close my eyes to meditate on that. And within a few seconds, I could feel this whirlwind of energy going all around my body. And then when it stopped, that's when I opened my eyes, and my whole body was basically paralyzed. So when I looked at him, he was there. I was not feeling shocked or petrified. Let's say I was physically immobile. I could not move. I was completely paralyzed. But his presence did not frighten me. In my head, I was thinking, what are you doing in my house? I treated it like an invasion of some sort, and I was ready to stand up. But I was not afraid. I mean, it takes more than that to, scare me in that sense anyway. But I was definitely ready to take action, let's put it that way. But I simply could not move. I was completely, paralyzed on my sofa, sitting down, my palms down on the side of my body. And I was just staring at him. And to the extent that I could not remember even moving my eyelashes. I was completely, my eyes were wide open, and I was just staring at him. And I could not speak either. So we communicated telepathically.
Communicating telepathically with an extraterrestrial, for a lot of people, that may sound like woo times 10, Sebastien, not believing that it could actually happen, number one, or people automatically assuming that you're on some sort of hallucinogen or narcotic. What made that experience so real?
Well, first of all, I do not take hallucinogenics. I don't take drugs. I think the only time I had smoked marijuana was when I was 20 years old back in Amsterdam, and that was it. And it doesn't agree with me because when I smoke something like that, I basically go on a trip for like 10 days. So I don't need that kind of experience nowadays to experience the paranormal or to have an out-of-body experience or to have a very weird, experience in the cosmos. So to that extent, sure, I could have had a nervous breakdown. I even looked at myself on that day when that being disappeared, and I thought, have I lost my mind? That's the first thing I thought, because it was not, it was very abnormal, and I was not expecting it, and it just happened. And so it took me some time to accept that experience as well, but other experiences happened down the line that confirmed everything that I saw as well on that night. So I'm not that worried about people's judgments or anything else. You have to realize that when ETs communicate with human beings, they will communicate telepathically, usually, because they have a different concept of dimensions as we do. See, our limitations is we see the world today with like 4 dimensions maybe. We don't really have many insights of other types of dimensions. Quantum physics nowadays has described 26 other dimensions on the planet that we don't know about, and yet it's in there. It's a theory. But if they do exist, we simply would not be able to understand how they function, how they relate to one another. And in the ET realm, for what I've been told, not just from the ETs, but also from people in government, because I basically interact with those people too, is that the ETs will look at us as frightened beings, like we have a lot of scattered minds. We think a lot, and what we don't realize is when we think, we may realize such experience somewhere else in a different dimension. And that may disturb them because when we think, the thought process is a reality to them. So when they come to see you, and especially in my case, when I got paralyzed, I was not obviously under normal influence. I was being subjected to this encounter, and I was being paralyzed, so I would stay quiet. I would be calm, and I would not be overreacting, and my mind was not functioning properly either. Like I didn't really have many questions in my head, racing through my head at that point. I was very focused on what I was going to ask. And some of these questions basically were about some of the experiences I had to do with like visions I had and these sort of things, because it scared me. And I was asking that being to help me with those visions, to see if they were real or not. And he confirmed some of these visions, and he was talking to me about philosophical ideas, I guess, that I'm trying to be more broad tonight about this topic, because I spoke at length about this topic on other interviews with you and other people. But the fundamental a change that we had was definitely controlled to the extent that they wanted me to be just calm and not panicky, so I would not confuse them and I would not, basically send them away.
We're going to start shifting gears into Granger Taylor here, because this is a story here in Canada, as we talk about UFOs, that really doesn't get a lot of press.
No.
Because it involves UFOs, potentially, even though we don't know the truth as to whether or how he disappeared. But the fact that it was brought up is very, very random. Before we get into that, Canada in general, when it comes to UFOs, is still a very, very reserved country. We have had some incredible experiences here that really get not much press at all. If you think Shag Harbor, if you think the Stefan Mikulik case in Manitoba, Granger Taylor, amongst just a few. Why do you think that the Canadian public really seems to ignore UFO stories?
I don't think they ignore it. I think there's an awakening going on. The reason why the CBC has done this documentary called The Man Who Went to Space and Disappeared about the story of Granger Taylor is because they are believing that the population is ready to accept the reality of UFOs. And you have to realize that the media works in conjunctions with the government as well. And so they want some disclosure. And the Vancouver Island is filled with UFOs. I mean, I speak to people on a daily basis who can see UFOs every night. And I've seen UFOs recently as well at a party with like 7 people there looking at that UFO in the sky. So it happens a lot. And, in that documentary, we hear someone from MUFON, I believe, who was saying that Vancouver Island was a hub for UFOs. It was a hotbed for UFOs. So it's interesting what you are saying, that are Canadians oblivious to the idea of UFOs? No, I don't think so. I think they are more and more open to the idea and the reality of it, because it's becoming part of our reality every day. And in the past, because again, from the disinformation from the government and what the CIA did and the FBI trying to ridicule the subject of UFOs, people started to develop basically a shell around their bodies and their minds, thinking, we don't want to be talking about this subject even remotely. And still today, you're right. Some of these people are very conservative, and they will get fed up or tired about talking about this subject if you even try to address it. But you have to realize that every time you do something like that, I speak to skeptics all the time. And when I do, I just realize that there's a shift in them. There's a shift in their consciousness because something happens in them, in their lifetime. And I can witness this. And I'm talking to people who basically are so skeptic that they are part of the skeptic clubs and, UFOs, skeptic websites and these sort of things. And they even subscribe to magazines to do with that. So when you actually are friends with those people, and you have very interesting, heated exchanges sometimes. But I'm realizing that those people are now looking in the same direction as I do because of what's going on in the media. You've seen what the media has released about a UFO flying and taken by a pilot. They can't catch up with the speed of that UFO that flies in black and white image. So you have the Stars of Academy or something in the US that also is trying to be partly doing some disclosure programs. So it's all happening. I think we're still in that period. I talked about this in the past, that we are in the 2020 era right now, that we're going to be hearing more about disclosure, especially around the re-elections of Donald Trump, because that's what's going to happen. While the Liberal Party won't be elected in Canada. So that's basically, these are realities that I knew about 4 years ago. And so, I'm aware of a lot of things that are already planned. And I think the disclosure aspect of releasing information about UFOs, yes, it's controlled, but it's going to be released. And there will be a reality that people will have to face. And there's an agenda associated with it. It's not nefarious. It's basically to help people awaken to the idea that we are not alone.
Sebastien Martin is our guest tonight from Ensuho. You can catch him on his YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We have about 5 minutes here before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Sebastien, to be frank, that's what I was trying to say. A lot of people in the mainstream do not buy this. They do not buy the UFO community. The mainstream media in Canada really doesn't eat it up.
Mm-hmm.
So
You're right.
I understand there are pockets, especially on Vancouver Island, where you have to be a weirdo to live there. I should know. I lived there for a couple of years.
Thank you.
But what I'm saying, though, and I mean that as an all due respected compliment, but when you get into the major markets of Vancouver, Edmonton, Calgary, Toronto, Montreal, Halifax, there is not a lot of people looking up to the stars. They're more looking at their cell phones, looking at their bank accounts, and looking at their gas prices rising. And I think And that's what I'm trying to say, where I don't think a lot of the Canadian public really, really pays attention to what is happening around them, especially in the sky above.
You are correct, but this is not a Canadian issue. This is a worldwide issue. And that's also to do with the fact that we've been programmed to be on our cell phones, to be distracted. You have the entertainment, you've got the television, you've got movies. Some of these movies do contain some information as well. Some are completely biased and are lying to you on purpose, and people believe it's a reality, especially when you have movies saying, based on real events. Well, you see that from the Project Blue Book TV series. It's very far-fetched. It's not close to the reality of what really happened. The cases are there, but again, Hollywood made it a farce. It's not close to what truly happened. And so they try to make it more of a science fiction TV series that is not close to what truly happened during those days. But CBC, I believe, have done justice to Granger Taylor's story in some parts, not in all, because they have covered some of the background of Granger Taylor, but his sanity was questioned, and I would like to talk about this after the break.
Absolutely. We've got about 3 minutes to go, so let's find out, as we tease going into the next half hour, who is Granger Taylor?
Granger Taylor was a local boy. He was born in the Cowichan Valley in Duncan. He left school pretty early on. He basically had an ability. He was a genius in terms of mechanics. He could build everything from his hands. He was a genius in that regard, to the extent that there's a discovery center in Duncan that hosts like locomotives from like the 1900s and some other things to do with the lumber industry. And Granger donated and first of all, he repaired a full-size locomotive by himself with his bare hands from scratch, from parts that were found in the forest nearby. And he reconstructed it. And in fact, if you go to the Discovery Center in Duncan, which again was something that was not publicized, is that you will see a plaque about his name, like talking about him, like about his name there at the Discovery Center, saying that he donated it to the Discovery Center, and he built that locomotive. So he was very manual. His friends basically thought that he was fun to be around because he was eccentric. He tried acid. He was also working for the logging industry, so he had access to explosives like C4, dynamite, you name it. So he had some of these explosives to explode stumps on the logging trails. But he was a big guy. He was a pretty heavy-duty guy. He was doing some wrestling as well as a hobby. And I spoke to some of his nephews who knew him very well, and they always believed that, yes, he was eccentric, that he was, very smart, with manual stuff, but he never went to school. And, the experiences he had with acid and drugs, some people made it even part of people in his family, like stepbrothers and these sort of things in a documentary saying that they believe that he committed suicide over the drugs he was taking at the time. I don't buy that story personally, but again, this is what we can discuss after the break.
Perfect. Sebastien Martin is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. And, of course, we're going to get into this really weird story of Granger Taylor, a man who disappeared in 1980 on the Vancouver Island in British Columbia in a town called Duncan. Said it was aliens that he was going on a 4.5-year journey with. Did he really go? Nobody really knows. We'll have more with Sebastien Martin on this topic and more UFO talk tonight on the Mighty SOR. Remember, our website is currently under construction, but you can still listen to the show there, so make sure you check it on out. More Spaced Out Radio right after this.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Come get spooked at the 4th Annual Forest Moon Paracon in Cedar-Woolley, Washington, Saturday, September 28th. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot. Speakers include Mike Morin and Jason Jordan, R. Keith Andrews, and Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and so much more. There will be workshops and a VIP roundtable. Get early bird tickets now at fmparacon.com.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Coming up this September 21st and 22nd, all UFO eyes will be focused on Toronto for the 4th Annual Alien Cosmic Expo. Come listen to some of the biggest names and experiencers in ufology. Travis Walton, Paul Hellyer, Richard Dolan, Paula Harris, Grant Cameron, Randy Kramer, and Spaced Out Radio's own Dave Scott. Tickets are on sale now at aliencosmicexpo.com.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Reminder to all of you, if you've missed part of this show or others, you can always check out our archives for free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, currently under construction. We're building a brand new website, brand new look coming on up in the next couple of weeks. So just remain patient. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're talking with Sebastien Martin from Ensuho tonight. You can check out his YouTube channel as well for great interviews, trying to get to the heart of the matters when it comes to the strange, weird, odd, and conspiratorial. Sebastien, we're talking about Granger Taylor tonight. Thank you so much for being with us.
Well, you're welcome, Dave. And I would like to elaborate on the story that the CBC broadcasted to do with a documentary. Granger Taylor was portrayed as a man who was like a master mechanic who vanished out of nowhere. He basically just disappeared overnight. And was never seen again. And he wrote a letter to his parents the day he disappeared. And what really caught my attention was the few lines he wrote was very short. He says, "Dear mother and father, I have gone away to walk aboard an alien ship as recurring dreams assured a 42-month interstellar voyage to explore the vast universe, then return." He left his possessions to his family. He built an airplane from the Second World War completely as well. It's like a collector's airplane that he sold for $10,000. Lots of money in those days, but he basically gave away all of his possessions to his family, knowing that he was going away, but yet he wasn't sure. If he was returning, why would he be leaving his possessions to his family? That's what kind of bothered me a bit about that letter. What the documentary doesn't mention, while they read that many times over, the fact is that those lines were written, so his will, let's say, were written on a map. On the back of that map was Waterloo Mountain, which is not the mountain he supposedly vanished on. The RCMP many years later found a wreckage that looked like his Datsun truck, but it didn't have the same paint color, and he also didn't have a VIN number on it. But they did find 2 bone fragments embedded into the nearby trees, which they assumed it was Granger Taylor who blew himself up accidentally or on purpose. They don't know, but they made that assumption that it was his body who basically was blown to pieces in that forest on Mount Seeker. And yet the map showed Waterloo Mountain, which is far away. It's like many kilometers away from Mount Seeker. And that's the map and the mountain he actually circled on that map. So I think there was a reason he was trying to give some clues as to where he was going. The day he disappeared, he basically went to a local cafe, he had a burger, and he was seen by the waitress. I believe he was even seen by his best friend afterwards, for what I think that the documentary mentions that. And then he just vanishes and he's never seen again. The interesting point about this to me is that he had recurring dreams to do with his voyage. And it was exactly 42 months that he kept repeating, 42-month interstellar voyage. He said that to his friends, he said that to his family, and when he disappeared, he was assured that he would come back, but maybe he just simply didn't want to come back. Because maybe if he enjoyed the technology so much and as a master mechanics, maybe he wanted to stay on the board of the spacecraft and do this kind of work. Who knows? But what I found also very interesting is that the RCMP never tried to do like a DNA test on the bone fragment. They jumped to conclusions for saying it was his body, it was his truck, when they could not identify the truck, that it was his or not. They couldn't tell. But they said, well, let's close the case. It was deemed as suicide, and the family, was given that conclusion. So in the documentary, you can hear his stepbrother reading that letter because he was asked by the filmmaker to do so, and he just said no, I don't want to because he just died. He committed suicide, and that was the last lines of the documentary, which to me gave the conclusion, the final conclusion, the statement from the people who actually made the documentary. It was not open. His friends, his very close friends, did not believe he was suicidal. Yes, they recognized that he has tried drugs in the past. Like people use drugs like psychedelically. You've got ayahuasca that even Graham Hancock is using ayahuasca every day. It doesn't make him a madman, but at the same time, you have certain experiences that last X amount of time. You have certain journeys to experience through those psychedelic drugs. I don't need those drugs myself, but some people are using those for that purpose, and that's the expectancy of the drug journey, which I can't buy into myself. But again, this is what I hear all the time. Like people using DMT, trying to smoke marijuana, not just to relax, but also to have other types of experiences that they can't get regularly if they are fully conscious or sane. They have to have this kind of edge, to experience something else that they can't grasp in their physical reality. And I think that's exactly what Granger Taylor got from maybe trying acid in those days. And when he stopped, those dreams kept coming back. And it was, like you said, it was recurring dreams. So he was given visions of a trip that he was supposed to be involved into. With what beings, I have no idea. But what's also interesting in that documentary is that they mentioned that, yes, Vancouver Island was a hot spot for UFOs, that there was a sighting at the local Cowichan Hospital, that the nurses saw a craft coming in. They barely talked about this sighting. They could not even show or do any piece of information to do with this, which kind of bothered me a bit, because they should have shown or at least replicated what happened with that UFO sighting, with the nurses looking at that bright light outside. That was a craft with an actual humanoid being inside, and they could see it. They could see that being, and then he just went away. And that was 10 years prior to Granger Taylor's disappearance. So it was the time when UFOs were already in existence, not as talked about, but it was still happening. I spoke to people who saw triangular spacecrafts on Vancouver Island, a nurse that I knew very well who saw that craft just above her car. Many people see different types of lights. I've met an architect just recently who told me that there was a craft that went into Salt Spring Island, like inside the mountain, like completely interdimensional spacecraft that completely flew in broad daylight, like an orange light that flew straight into the mountain. So there are different types of crafts around here. And, if you compare Vancouver Island to other places, like in Arizona, you've got different vortexes around. And Vancouver Island is one of the largest vortexes on the planet. There are mini vortexes all over the place. So it's a very active location in terms of earthquakes. As you know, we are very close to the Sant Andreas Fault. There is the Juan de Fuca Strait that's nearby. We've got many tremors, that small tremors, but there's enough frequency and discharge of activity around in terms of energy that may trigger such sightings or such activity. And for what I understand, there's a lot of UFO activity around volcanoes. And Vancouver Island is actually not known for volcanoes, but there are many extinguished volcanoes here. And Mount Seeker is actually one of them, which is also close to Duncan. There are a lot of underground volcanoes all around Vancouver Island in the ocean that are bubbling every day. So I believe that the UFOs are attracted, and certain UFOs are attracted to the magma and the actual energy from lava. I think if you go, for example, to around the sun, the corona of the sun has more plasma than the core of the sun, and strangely enough, you have a lot of UFO sightings around the sun. People have spotted them, filmed them. And I think there's been a lot of UFO sightings around volcanoes, on Earth that were also documented from meteorological stations. That again, it's not fake footage; it's real. There are some weird activities going on all the time, especially like in Japan and other places. And Vancouver Island is no different. They are all still attracted by the plasma energy coming from those natural, sites. You have, like I said, underground volcanoes, and you have real volcanoes. Even if they're extinguished, they still have channels, and those channels can be used for like highways underground. So they don't necessarily have to be spotted in the air. They could simply use those channels if they wanted to. And the government is certainly using those, as we discussed last time. They have enhanced those air channels from the volcanoes to create underground highways to communicate from one location to another.
I think the majority of the audience isn't even paying attention to you tonight, Sebastien. I think they're paying attention to the frogs in the background, brother.
Well, I'm sorry. Is that disturbing? Is that too disturbing?
No, it sounds absolutely beautiful, to be absolutely honest. We're actually really enjoying it, and a lot of the comments in the chat rooms are like, oh, I love the sounds of the frogs in the background. So, no, it's making you sound more romantic, put it that way.
Thank you. Well, I've got 15 acres of land where I live, and I have a large pond, and we do have frogs every night, and we have a lot of wildlife around. We've got black bears. We've got we don't live where you live, Dave, but it's still wild. As far as Canada talk goes, we have cougars around as well, and we've got lots of different creatures.
Oh yes, I know all about it. About it. But I do have to ask you, in regards to Granger Taylor, in the community of Duncan, what is the reaction of the community almost 40 years later to this story? Are there people still wondering what happened? Do people blow it off as a myth? Are they writing him off as a suicide and a crazy person?
Well, that's the thing. See, that in the community of Duncan, no one talks about it because, like you said, there's this kind of stigma around UFO disclosure. And many people in the Duncan area, it's a small town place where, they focus on tourism, which is kind of frightening me as well, because when you think about that documentary, you think that Duncan and the Chamber of Commerce would have tried to even do like an actual viewing at the local theater, which they've done for other films. Nothing happened. Nothing. So that means they couldn't care less about the UFO story in Duncan because they want to be known for that. And I think we've known of other places in BC where some sightings, created shops to have signage to do with like UFO hotspots and these sort of things. And the town hall decided to ban all of these signs and ask the shops to change their business names because it was not good for tourism, according to them. And I wouldn't be surprised if Duncan was wearing the same kind of shoes, that they don't want to stir the boats. They rather focus on the vineyards. They are trying to remove themselves from the stigma of drunken Duncan, which was based from the logging industry where a lot of people were drinking and logging. And the Duncan place location was mostly known for logging. And that is changing. There's a lot of change. I mean, I've been here since 2005. And I've seen a lot of changes since then. So I'm not surprised that they are just focusing on what sells, what can be exported. The UFO is still a very limited subject that is still frowned upon by many people in the community and elsewhere. And even if the story is real, it happened, they don't raise it as an issue at all. They don't talk about it. That's as simple as that.
You know, it's the same thing in my community because Miriam Delicado got taken here in 1988, 1 mile out of town. And the people who have been here in this community since then, they don't want to talk about it. They don't feel that it is something that this community needs, that type of reputation, typical old school thinking on this topic. So I'm assuming Duncan would be the exact same way.
Yes, if not worse. It's a very small community. The North Cowichan district, which is close to Duncan, is growing all the time. They keep expanding their territory. So they certainly have an agenda to do with tourism, but that's not including UFOs. That's definitely not part of it. They don't understand the topic. They won't talk about it. They won't promote it for sure. They will let people like me and other people talk about it, between themselves. But you don't see the local media. And again, because I reached out to them and I know them. I worked with them for my business, and they published articles whenever I wanted to. If it was about a piece I wanted to promote, I was a pretty good marketer, and I was able to promote certain aspects of the business. If it was a good media coverage, if I could create a news piece angle, I would do it. And this time around, when I was trying to approach them, the same people, for discussing the Granger Taylor documentary or even about my book that I published, they would not even touch me they wouldn't even get back to me. That's how bad it is.
Well, why try and sweep it under the covers? Do they just not want to admit that it happened?
I don't think they want to stir the boat. And I can almost guarantee you that if I paid an ad in those newspapers to ask people's testimony to get back to me, to talk about their experiences privately, to potentially put it in a documentary of some sort, there would be thousands of people coming with their own stories, their own sightings. I talk to people like this all the time. And they're very reluctant to talk about it publicly because they're shy. They don't want to be, again, the stigma of being judged. Again, people don't have an opinion for themselves. They live in society and they want to belong. Therefore, they will just deny that, they don't deny it happened, but they will just simply not, share the information publicly. Very few would. But in general, they would not make big waves around it because, it's a one-off experience. And they would say, it happened to me, but I don't understand it. I don't know why. It just happened. And that's the reason why they would just leave it behind. They don't expect it back. They don't expect an actual experience to become something normal or regular. They would just take it as a one-off. And so it's one of these experiences that they just want to leave behind them and just move on with their lives and not think about it again.
So when you look at that, as we got about 3 minutes here before we got to go to break at the top of the hour, do you look at that as it's the older generation that maybe is still running the establishments in the community that are causing that? Or what about the younger crowd then, who seems to be a little bit more spiritual, enlightened, and open-minded to these topics?
Right. Well, the young generation is definitely more awakened to the idea of consciousness and UFOs. UFOs is kind of on the fringe, let's put it that way. They would believe in spirits, they like the Wicca and these sort of things. They would try to be more in touch with nature. Because of the shamans locally, talk about the First Nations, they are closer to nature. But yet, even within the First Nations, like the Cowichan tribes, for example, in Duncan, have their stories, their legends about their creation came from people from space that descended from the sky and landed on Mount Provo. That's their story. That's their stories they've been repeating from generations to generations. They have names for them. They know about the Sasquatch. They know where they live. They have 3 different types of Sasquatch according to their culture, and they even have names for them. They know the Forbidden Lands, where humans or First Nations could not live because the Sasquatch lived there. That was their territory. And, we are surrounded by stories that, again, are from word of mouth. They are oral stories that are not written. And that's the biggest problem in the Cowichan Valley and the Duncan area, is that it's not shared. And therefore, you have to be almost like initiated or to receive the blessing of the chief of the Cowichan tribes. And, it's complicated. And they don't like to share their stories that way for whatever reason. So it's not well documented, and yet they are filled with stories about UFOs and aliens. But they simply won't write it down. So the media doesn't even know about this.
We got about 35 seconds. What do the First Nations in the area believe happened to Granger Taylor?
That's a good question. I don't think they can really comment on that. They do believe that aliens exist. I mean, they believe they are descendants of them. As to know if they have a comment about Granger Taylor, I don't think they even know. I mean, I don't think they would just talk about it. They know that there are some secret mountains, there are some weird activities going on, but if they stick to the RCMP fact of that truck being blown up in the mountain with 2 bone fragments, they probably stick to just that. They won't try to investigate it.
Well, you know what, my friend? We're going to get you to hold on right there. Sebastien Martin from Ensuho is here to talk about the strange disappearance case of Granger Taylor back in 1980 on Vancouver Island in British Columbia, Canada. Was he taken by aliens? Did he commit suicide? More with Sebastien Martin right after this on Spaced Out Radio. Hour 2 coming up. Come get spooked at the 4th Annual Forest Moon Paracon in Cedar-Woolley, Washington, Saturday, September 28th. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot. Speakers include Mike Morin and Jason Jordan, R. Keith Andrews, and Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and so much more. There will be workshops and a VIP roundtable. Get early bird tickets now at fmparacon.com. Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Canada's largest UFO conference is ready to roll in Toronto this September 21st and 22nd at the Alien Cosmic Expo. This year is about the experience. listen to the stories of Dave Scott, Travis Walton, Paula Harris, Grant Cameron, Ryan Stacey, Richard Dolan, Leslie Mitchell-Clark, and more. Get your tickets now at aliencosmicexpo.com.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
We are getting ready to relaunch the SOR Space Travelers Club at spacedoutradio.com. For $5 a month, you can join us for a plethora of features found nowhere else. Hang out in a private chat room during the show and after party. You can check out some exclusive content and a store specifically for you, as well as a private listener forum where you can post your thoughts, stories, and pictures. The SOR Space Travelers Club, coming soon to spacedoutradio.com.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for being with us. Tomorrow night on the show, it's the final Friday of the month, so I'm bringing in some friends for the SOR Paranormal Roundtable, 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates, KZFX 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California, WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, KDUN AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon, and UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans. On the digital side, hi to everyone listening in on Revolution Radio and Deep Talk Radio. Remember, you can check out all of our archives for free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. What the heck is this? Solonixes. I don't even know if I should try that again. Solonixes is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, currently under construction, but you can still listen to the show there. We'll have it up and running in a couple of weeks. Tonight we are talking with Sebastien Martin from Ensuho. We are talking about this weird and strange story about the missing person, Granger Taylor. Granger Taylor disappeared on November 29th, 1980, when he left a note for his family saying that he was going on a ride with aliens. Sebastien, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Dave.
Right before the break, I asked you about the First Nations and their thoughts about what happened on this. Now, I know a lot of First Nations people do not really talk about the subjects of UFOs, aliens, Bigfoot, other cryptid or spiritual type creatures with the white man. It's just the way it is. And it's the way it's been for a long, long time. Have the First Nations in your community, or where the community was when this took place in Duncan, British Columbia, have they ever spoken about this event publicly?
No. No, not what I know of. I could ask. I never really literally asked about Granger Taylor and the First Nations, but the First Nations have their own, story about the Sasquatch, about UFOs. They do have their own experiences to do with that, but every time it's to do with them. It's not so much to do with the white man. It's whatever relates to their lifestyle or their experiences. They also speak about the spirit world. There's a local mountain here that is not far off. It's called Mount Suhelem. And Mount Suhelem, which is very close to Duncan, you can see it from where I live. And it's basically a mountain where the chief Suhelem went into the mountain as an initiation for his manhood. His grandmother raised him because his parents got killed during a raid by the British soldiers. And when they went to the mountain, they decided to, he decided to to enter a cave. There was a narrow passage, apparently, according to the legends. Not many people know about this, but I've been privileged to speak to a few members of that community, and they told me that while Chief Suhelem, before he became chief, going through his tunnel, met a white lady. Now, we are talking about the 1800s here, and there was a white lady with a big glow that was around her body, and she apparently gave him his strength and power to become Chief Suhelem. So that's the legends, again, surrounding the First Nations, here. The mountain has been, a lot of UFOs has been spotted around Mount Suhelum as well. So it's not abnormal, let's say for them to see them there. Around Soul Spring, Vancouver Island, Mount Provo. I've seen a UFO, right above Mount Provo, on the side of Mount Provo, with a friend. And I describe that experience in my book as well. And so, it's not uncommon to have those kind of stories within the First Nations, but they simply won't talk about it. They will respect it. The same as the Sasquatch. They would know where they are, but according to their belief systems, there are many of them, especially the chiefs, the people in higher ranks in the society there, would tell the youngsters, saying, if you see a Sasquatch, and again, that's from an experience I've been told. The man was doing a fishing experience on the Cowichan River, and he was with the local chief, and a Sasquatch showed up. And he said to me, so the first thing you recognize and you smell is the foul smell of a wet dog times 10. It was a horrible smell, and the Sasquatch showed up on the other side of the bank. And they were, fishing salmon, and the chief said, let's leave all of our gears and our salmon on site and do not look at them in the eye, because apparently they will steal your soul. It's the same old concept as, taking a picture. In those days, in America, they were taking pictures of the First Nations. They were afraid that they may steal their soul from the picture. So some of these concepts are, very embedded into their culture. And I think the story of the Sasquatch is quite identical. I was told that there was a young boy, now he's probably in his 20s. He saw the Sasquatch before locally, and apparently he's never been the same again. He's almost like behaving with autistic traits. I mean, he could be autistic. We don't know, but according to the First Nations, they would say, well, that's because he saw the Sasquatch. So we don't know. But they certainly do have more experiences with the Sasquatch, living in nature, being out there more often than we do. Instead of looking at our cell phones, they would be trying to, do the yearly salmon fishing with their spears and try to go at the Cowichan River. It's part of their culture, right? So when they tell you that when I think the Discovery Channel came to Vancouver Island to film about the Sasquatch on Mount Seeker, where supposedly Granger Taylor blew himself up, the Sasquatch is quite predominantly seen over there, by loggers, sheriffs, First Nations, you name it. Like, you can have very sane people seeing the Sasquatch. And I told you this off the air, but one of Granger Taylor's nephew saw the Sasquatch as a foreman for the logging industry twice in a row, like 2 nights in a row. He was guarding the site, and he was outside on the campfire when he saw something that looked like a bear going through the bushes. And then the bear stopped and turned its head towards him, and that's when he realized it was not a bear, but a Sasquatch. And he had very intelligent eyes, for what he described. He looked at him, and then almost like, I don't know if he smelled him or not, but he just walked away on the path that he had through the bushes. And Granger's nephew went back to his trailer, trapped himself in with a hatchet, with a rope attached to the lock of the door, ready to protect himself if the Sasquatch tried to open the trailer. And the same thing happened the next night, again. But he was not as scared, but he still remembers that experience with the Sasquatch. And he's not First Nations, but he certainly had the experiences on Mount Seeker. So the First Nations do have many of these stories out there. Like, I've spoke to many of them, and they all have a very unique experience about the Sasquatch and how respectful they are of them. Like, you should not disturb their habitat, that you should not try to hunt them. And that's exactly what the Discovery Channel people try to do. They try to go down there and trying to see where they were at, But the First Nations forbade them to go. They said, no, we are not allowing you to trespass on our land. And so they didn't. That's a real story.
Interesting. Very interesting. But getting back to Granger Taylor, there is a big debate on what actually happened to him. Some believe he committed suicide. Others believe that he was actually taken by extraterrestrials and are expecting him to show up any time, even though it's been almost 40 years.
Yes.
Maybe break down that debate.
Well, he was a true believer. He had recurring dreams, like he said in his will letter to his parents. He certainly had a huge interest in the UFO world, reading books about them. He actually built a spacecraft in his parents' backyard so he could actually study his books in them, and apparently that's why he had the most communications with the ETs. So the spacecraft that he built, that was not, you couldn't fly him, you couldn't fly the spacecraft, but he built one. And that's where apparently he had those communications or dreams, maybe, but it certainly became more and more vivid. So that's his take. That's, what his friends remember of him, the way he was talking about UFOs and aliens, and they were friendly, and they were trying to take him on this interstellar trip. His friends believed him because he was so enamored with the topic, and he was eccentric. People loved him for that too. But the fact that he actually believed that story, he was convinced that he had an encounter, that he was in contact with them. He probably never saw them, but he may have had some telepathic communications with them. That's what I believe. As to know if the people from his family want closure because he hasn't returned, they may love him dearly, but maybe they will say, you know what, we don't believe in UFOs to that extent. And if the RCMP said they found a truck that resembled his, even if it was not the same color, and he had no VIN number to identify the truck, yeah, let's say it's his, because they found 2 bone fragments that they could not test through DNA. They never did. So we don't even know if those bone fragments are still around or if they completely crushed them or threw them in the trash. We don't know because the RCMP will not comment on it. And you have to go through the Freedom of Information Act in Canada to retrieve such information. And most likely they would just not disclose anything. They would say, well, that's the case. The case is we close it down because we found those things and that's it. And they won't tell you where those pieces are. So if you try to ask for it, most likely, and I believe that they would have thrown them away. They would have kept those pieces of evidence when a case is closed. So this is what some of the family members believe. They believe that he committed suicide. They don't even say it's an accident, which kind of bothers me because if he was on drugs, even remotely, I don't think it would. He never showed once a sign of depression or paranoia, or even, just that to be suicidal. His friends said, no, there's no way. He was not suicidal. He was the most outgoing person. He was full of life. So that kind of person, to me, would have not tried to blow themselves up just for the sake of creating this interstellar travel and to have their souls depart their body. I don't believe that. I don't buy that a second. I do not. And so it's understandable that some of the family members would believe that he committed suicide because he had C4 or dynamite in the back of his truck and intently decided to blow himself up to have that experience. But I can't buy it. I do not buy that. But that's, again, their belief system.
Sebastien, why did he have C4 explosives in the back of his truck?
Because he always had them. He was working for the logging industry, and he was always blowing tree stumps along the way. So if he was trying to create a new path, he needed to have the C4 in the back of his truck ready to go or handy. So it's not like he was inexperienced with it. He's used it many times over. And so for me to have a C4 explode, in that case, was it his? Was it even his truck? We don't know. Possibly. But if let's assume it was his truck and it basically exploded, you have to realize that night where it disappeared was the biggest thunderstorm that ever been seen in the Cowichan Valley. So there are many strange events, meteorologically speaking, in weather forecast. Like, they were expecting major snowstorms. We don't get snowstorms here. Sorry, thunderstorms. And that's exactly what happened the night he disappeared. Now, why would he have anticipated that and written down that note to his parents the same night and then just went off? And then that's the night he disappeared. So the thunderstorms could have triggered the explosives, and maybe lightning may have struck the truck and exploded it. It's possible.
Were there any sightings of UFOs by other people that same night that he disappeared?
We don't know. I don't think this was even documented. And yes, actually, in a documentary, funny enough, one of the neighbors say that they saw lights flying nearby Mount Seeker. So they saw something. But they could not, again, the documentary is not explicit enough to elaborate on the sighting. So it's kind of a dead end. But yes, I do believe that there were some sighting of some sort that was seen by neighbors of Granger Taylor, who we knew very well, and they are mentioned in the documentary. So I guess, yes, there were some sightings, but like I said, it's not widely documented.
We are talking with Sebastien Martin from Insuho tonight, talking about the legendary missing person story of Granger Taylor on Vancouver Island, British Columbia. Did he get taken by UFOs? Was it suicide? That is the mystery that revolves today. Sebastien, we got about 6.5 minutes before we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour here. When it comes to the mystery surrounding him disappearing and the RCMP closing the case so quickly.
Yes. Well, I think they wanted... Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, why do you think they wanted to close it, just an open and shut case like that? Was it because maybe it involved UFOs, or was it because the fact that they strongly do believe they found his vehicle and parts of his body that was blown up in the forest?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both. I think in a way, giving closure to the family, finding a truck, in the forest, thinking, it could be his, so let's assume it's his. They found bone fragments. This was their conclusion, and that's what they gave closure to the family. The mother would never buy it. She didn't believe that story at all, and many of the other members of the families and friends didn't believe that either. But like I said, the case was going on for 4 years. They looked for him. They did some, some searches and everything else, but it went nowhere. Even in the first 4 years, they tried to go. They may have gone to Mountain Waterloo, because that's again on the back of the letter that he gave to his parents, circled. It could have been a place he would have been. So they may have gone there, but it's a very inaccessible mountain by truck, unless you have the experience of Granger Taylor and you can go anywhere. Maybe he wanted to use his dynamite to explode some of the street stumps along the way. Who knows? If his truck went there, it was never found. Not there anyway.
Did he, outside of the suicide note, or if that's what we want to call it, or the abduction note,
right?
Did anybody else know in his inner circle that he was planning on going on a trip with extraterrestrials?
Yes, of course. Yes, his friends knew about this. So he warned them ahead of time that he was going there. I think his best friend, I can't remember his name now, but you can look it up. His best friends saw him the night he disappeared. He went to see them and said, "That's my day, I'm going now." And according to them, he was very upbeat. He was very happy. He was not suicidal at all. And I don't believe such man would have tried to commit suicide. Even if you were on acid, you would not try to explode yourself for the sake of a 4.5 hours trip in space. I don't believe for a second he had that kind of conviction to kill himself in order to have that experience. I think he really wanted to be there physically, and the reason being, he said that in his letter, he said, "I'm going for a trip, and then until I return." So he was expecting to return in his physical body, not as a soul being, right?
Well, I mean, that brings up another question, though. If he didn't want his family to hurt because maybe he was deranged and knew he was going to commit suicide, what an easier way to do it to keep their pain away by saying, look, I'm going with aliens for a ride. See you at another time in the future. I should be back by then.
Yeah, sure. But I mean, again, if you wrote that letter for saying that you will return, you don't write a suicide note for saying such things. You say, I'm going and I'm never coming back. He did give his money away to his family, though, when he went away, because maybe he thought there might be potentially that, he might not return for whatever reason. He may be blown up in space, who knows? But I don't think he was thinking of being blown up in the woods, on Mount Sika. So I don't think that was, his belief system at the time. So when you analyze that letter, that's what I'm getting from it. I don't think that he was suicidal. I don't think he was preparing himself to die physically in order to have that experience. So if it happened, it was either an accident, if it was his truck. But like I said, his friends didn't believe he committed suicide. His family members, many of his family members, did not believe he died, committing suicide either. He thought rationally in that sense. Like I said, he was a mechanical genius. He was able to think logically to that extent, even if he never pursued beyond grade 8. So he was a school dropout, but he was very good with his hands, and that's what he worked on. You need to have some kind of intelligence to do that. You can't be just a dumb guy who just takes acids and play whatever games you want. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. I think he was thinking rationally to the best ability that he has at the time. It was very hard for him to comprehend this reality. It was a new reality. He was really in love with that subject, and I think he had a very close encounter telepathically, not physically, but telepathically with those beings. He had direct communication with them. Now, again, most psychiatrists today would call that, delusional. He would be paranoid, delusional. They could call me that as well. If I didn't know better, I could be diagnosed with the same thing. But again, when you think about, hearing voices or being a seer or a prophet, in a religious matter, would the psychiatrist call the Vatican erratic and being all lunatics because they believe in God? There's such limitations to what we know. And if Granger was given the ability to experience that, I think it was his experience. It was for him to experience, and not for me or you to experience. It was his own experience. It was very personal. Like I said, I don't believe that he was intending to commit suicide that night, even if his stepbrother said the same thing.
All right, Sebastien Martin, I'm going to get you to hold on here because we're going to go to break at the bottom of the hour.
Okay.
Granger Taylor, was he taken by aliens? Did he commit suicide? What's your thoughts? Let us know on our Facebook page. I'd love to hear that. More Spaced Out Radio right after this.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know little brother is watching.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Coming up this September 21st and 22nd, all UFO eyes will be focused on Toronto for the 4th Annual Alien Cosmic Expo. Come listen to some of the biggest names and experiencers in ufology. Travis Walton, Paul Hellyer, Richard Dolan, Paula Harris, Grant Cameron, Randy Kramer, and Spaced Out Radio's own Dave Scott. Tickets are on sale now at aliencosmicexpo.com.
Come get spooked at the 4th Annual Forest Moon Paracon in Cedar-Woolley, Washington, Saturday, September 28th. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot. Speakers include Mike Morin and Jason Jordan, R. Keith Andrews, and Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and so much more. There will be workshops and a VIP roundtable. Get early bird tickets now at fmparacon.com.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit's story box. The iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
We pass the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thanks for coming along for the ride tonight, talking the mysterious disappearance of Granger Taylor back in November of 1980. Was it UFOs? Was it suicide? Sebastien Martin from Insuho is here to talk about it. But first, I want to remind you that if you've missed part of this show or any others that you want to hear, you can go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, to check out our archives for free. And, of course, our website, under construction. We're making it bigger and better for you. The relaunch in a couple of weeks' time. Sebastien Martin, thank you so much for joining us, talking about Granger Taylor tonight.
Well, thank you, Dave, for having me again.
Now, right before the break, we were talking about his family believing that he is still out there somewhere, potentially up in the sky watching down on us, and not from a heavenly level, but from a spaceship. Why do many of his family members and friends believe that he actually was taken by extraterrestrials?
Well, his mother, for starters, I guess because she was a mother, she didn't want to believe that he was dead. Even if she received the report from the RCMP, she kept his bedroom intact the way he left it. So even to this day, the bedroom has been left intact the way it was when he disappeared. So it's interesting that they kept that going, even if I think some of the family members died, and they still retain that knowledge and expectations. But you also have to believe and realize that his best friend Nielsen told the media at the time that Granger Taylor, many months before he disappeared, was sharing with him that he had direct communications with an alien entity. I can read you what he said about this. He said,
Please.
He said it happened when he was in bed. He lay there and got mental communications with somebody from another galaxy. He could not see them. I said they can't just be mental, but he said it was like they were talking just to him and to his mind. He was asking questions about the means for powering their crafts. The only thing they would tell him was it was magnetic. So it's interesting that he was obviously gearing up towards the mechanical aspect of, powering their crafts. That's Granger Taylor's mind. He was very much involved in that. He wanted to know how to power a spacecraft. He was very intrigued by that. He was enamored with the subject. So it makes sense that many months before his abduction or his disappearance, he had such encounters, and he actually related it to his best friend. And maybe others as well. But the fact that Nielsen said that he was lying in his metallic refuge, that was his basically his spacecraft that he built out of aluminum outside his parents' home on the same property, and he had like a stove inside the bed. He had books, And that's where he had the telepathic contact with this extraterrestrial entity who claimed to come from beyond the Milky Way.
That sounds so far-fetched. I mean, a normal person wouldn't believe that unless they've had their own experiences or just know the person through and through and can tell when they're telling a fib or not.
Well, that's true, but at the same time, most experiencers, have experiences they can't, demonstrate or explain. It's just the way it is. When you have an encounter of such dimension, it may not be provable. You can't prove it like black and white. It's something. It's an experience you live through your own consciousness, and it's not shared by to anyone else. And that's exactly what Granger went through. And then from that experience, he started to buy books about UFOs to learn about the topic. So he was reading a lot about the origins of UFOs. There are a lot of pseudoscience behind that. But there was one that was called What We Really Know About Flying Saucers from Otto Binder. You've got basically black holes, here now, Frank Edwards, books, Flying Saucers. So you got different books that Granger Taylor put his hands on, to read up about the topic. He was, like I said, he was passionate about it. He was reading about it, and he was sharing his experiences with his friends because of his experience. I don't think he started reading about his books and building his spacecraft because he didn't have an experience. I don't think he just he didn't come out of the blue. I think, it's because he was an experiencer and he was dedicated to the task. When like many bright people like him was, building up machines the way he was, if he basically donated 100% of his mind to this topic, that's what he was doing. He was dedicated to the task of learning about UFOs and entities and trying to, in this very short period of time, learn about them. I've been on this journey since 2011. I didn't know anything about UFOs or, ETs before that, and I had to catch up. I had to learn about the topic and decipher from the truth from the wrong. There's a lot of disinformation out there. And then you have your own experiences that can validate and confirm many of the stuff that's out there. And it's interesting that once you have that knowledge, it's becoming clearer. But it doesn't mean that I will start building up a spacecraft in my backyard just for the sake of it. Or, it's just not the same. I don't have the same drive, I guess, as Granger Taylor. He did that like the same way as Buddhist monks would build a temple to meditate. It was his place where he was comfortable, where he could potentially meditate or have those communications. So that's just the result of his passion towards the topic.
Do we know if any of his other family members or friends were ET contactees as well to give the story a little bit more credence?
I don't believe so. If that was the case, they would have mentioned it in the documentary. Like I said, more of his newer generations, like his nephews, one of them saw the Sasquatch, which to me could be extraterrestrials, entities as well. But it doesn't mean that they were abductees themselves. They just had an encounter. But again, a lot of these people who have such encounters may not realize that they were abducted because they don't remember. Many of the people who were abducted do not remember unless they have like nightmares or, if they go through hypnosis sessions to remember such details. But for the people I had encounters with, they had no recollections of UFOs themselves.
So in regards to the way he disappeared, I want to get to this question from Marty on Twitter because he's one of our favorite veterans around here. Marty, we love you. We know you're not feeling good tonight, but much love. We'll send you some good healing vibes, my friend. Marty's on hashtag Spaced Out Radio on Twitter. He is asking, what if it's not suicide? What if it's not abducted by aliens, but maybe he was murdered?
I don't think he was generating enough interest from the government to address such drastic measures to kill him because he had an encounter that was telepathic. It was not physical. It might be justified if you had a physical interaction and you had access to technology, for example, but it was not his case. He didn't create anything that was outside this realm. If you compare this story to the man, who built the Coral Castle in Florida.
Yes.
He built this giant place with coral stones, basically. Many tons over. He moved them by himself. He built that site by himself, and he had technology. And he actually wrote a pamphlet to discuss how he built it. But he was very vague about it. But he said he knew the secrets of the pyramids. So whatever he mastered allowed him to raise those 70-ton blocks of coral, stones in his backyard and make them pivot on one small rock underneath it for the door. Like that's the entry door for the Coral Castle today. And the man was old already when he started doing that, and he built it for his sweet 16, for the girlfriend he had in Latvia, who he couldn't marry, but he built that castle for her, as a statement of love. And the man, when he died, his technology vanished. The FBI went on site and took everything away. So it doesn't mean that they killed him for it, but the technology disappeared exactly the same way as they've done it for Tesla. When they went to his bedroom when he died in New York, and they just stole all of his patents and all of his notebooks and work, and that was John G. Trump. So it was one of the relatives from Donald Trump who did that, who actually went to that hotel and stole the papers and the documents that he had there. So it doesn't mean that they necessarily kill people for it. They just simply wait until you die so they can steal everything you have. And for Granger, well, he has nothing to demonstrate or show that was tangible to justify a government interaction with him.
Do you believe that Granger Taylor is up in space somewhere, traveling around with extraterrestrials?
I would like to believe that. That would be a nice thought, to see if he could come back and, tell us what he experienced. I mean, that would be a massive statement. Then I could understand you would become a target for the government agencies. But he hasn't come back. I mean, he's been since the 1980s. Whatever he said about coming back in 4.5 years, did not happen. So did he got the date wrong? Did he believe that the interstellar travel lasted longer than expected? Instead of 4.5 years, was it 45 years? We don't know. I don't know. I don't know if he died in Mount Seeker, or if he went through a spacecraft. I've never tried to even remote view this aspect, and maybe I should. But my gut feeling, it's more about his experience, and I don't believe he committed suicide. So despite what the documentary says and what the family members will say today, I do not buy that for a second. That's my take on that at this point.
Well, he said it would be 4.2 years or 4.5 years that he would be gone. He is now coming up on 40 years.
Exactly.
But I guess
yes.
the big thing is, if he is out there in the sky somewhere, cruising in the sport model UFO,
right,
that Bob Lazar worked on, something like it, similar.
Mm-hmm.
How do we know how long it would take for him to actually get back? It might only be 4.5 years for him at the speed they are traveling.
Exactly.
But a major amount of time here.
Exactly. And at the same time, would he have retained his physical body the way he was when he disappeared? Would they have given him some enhancements to survive in space? I mean, you have to realize that when astronauts go to space or the space station, past 3 months, they are like wrecks. I mean, their DNA changes. They've done some experiments with astronauts, twin astronauts actually, that one stayed on the Earth, and that was documented by NASA, and one went to space, and they compared the genetic mutations between the two, and they were. So if Granger Taylor left for that long, you would think, what kind of impact space will have on him while he's out there? Would have died in space? It's possible. Would he have been genetically modified so he could actually survive space and time? Probably. It's all a possibility. If he had come back, would he be looking like Granger Taylor? Maybe not. Would he be recognized by his family members? Probably not. So if you put all of these, questions, possibilities, it's if you were different physically, would you come back to see your family and say, "Hey, it's me"? Do you recognize me? It's maybe that person will know better and will think, what, I can't go back to my family anymore because they will think I'm someone else or I'm not Granger Taylor anymore. That could also be a possibility.
I'm just thinking about that. I mean, you know what this story reminds me, and it's weird, the entire field of ufology at times reminds me of that 1980s Disney movie, Flight of the Navigator, where the boy gets taken, and then he shows up 12 years later, where he's now supposed to be, or 8 years later, pardon me, where he's supposed to be 20 years old, but he's still in a 12-year-old body, and his younger brother is now a 16-year-old.
Right.
But no time shifted for the young lad inside the craft. I mean, that's what I'm thinking about when I think of this Granger Taylor story.
Mm-hmm. Yes. It's also, interesting to watch the movie Interstellar with Matthew McConaughey, because when you look at that movie, it gives you different types of reality concepts about space-time, time warps, black holes, how that astronaut was able to come back in time and warn his daughter and give her messages about quantum physics or science or whatever. And then at that point, humanity was just on the brink of extinction. I mean, they were suffering from major storms on Earth. It was hard to survive, and the reason why he left, it was to give a hope for humanity. And he does reconnect with his daughter at the end, and he hasn't changed a bit. For him, maybe like a few months went by, but when he reconnected to his daughter in space, in that station, going through space and time, he was looking at a dying woman who was in bed, and it's quite poignant. It's very, very interesting to realize that this could happen in space, because the reality of time and space is very different in the cosmos than it is on Earth. So for us to, again, believe that whatever happens in space happens on Earth, it's a false concept. We don't know. We just don't know what's out there. We don't know how we can go through a black hole for time travel, for example, or go through the corona of the sun to also go through a different dimension. All of these things are, to me, possibilities. And it kind of leads me to the same topic of global warming. And I wanted to talk about this tonight. I don't know if we have time to discuss this, but I was, in the organic field for many years, and I truly still believe in organic foods. And I'm very careful in what we generate in terms of carbon footprints and all of that. But I just came to realize that companies such as Tesla would be focusing, and I'm sorry if I go astray. I hope you allow me to do this tonight. But
we got about 2.5 minutes before we got to go to break.
Okay, perfect. So I would like to start this discussion with people as well to make them realize that if Tesla and other agencies, including NASA, think about stations or colonies on Mars and even on the Moon, why do you think they will start doing this? Why would they think about this in the first place? Are they giving up on the Earth? Are they saying that whatever we do here is already doomed? I believe so. I believe that they already see the outcome for what's about to come. We just simply do not accept it. We think that we can fix things, that we are human beings, and we can find a solution, that we can repair the damage that we caused to the Earth, that it's our fault, so we are guilty for all of that. Therefore, we are paying carbon taxes to do with this. It's a very clever way on how the government has been able to shift the reality of global changes. And it's not global warming, it's climate change. Climate change is a reality that happened for the last 4 billions of years on the planet. It's not a novelty. We are not responsible for climate change. And I will explain this after the break, because I've been in talks with scientists who documented this for the last 100 years, just to give you a very short idea of the kind of times we live in and how larger corporations think ahead, because they know that's the only outcome for saving humanity.
Well, it's one way to look at it. We got about 60 seconds left here. How do you tie in the environmental changes to ufology? Can you?
Well, climate change, yes, of course, because when you have such interactions with ET beings, when you look back at South Africa, when those gray aliens showed up to those school children, and
Yes.
many of them describe exactly the same experience, and they warn them with like nuclear holocausts and disasters on the planet and all of that, and said, you have to save the planet. It's your agenda. That's your duty. Is it truly what's going to destroy the planet? Is it nuclear weapons? I think if you suffer from global warming, climate change. Sorry, I should not say global warming, because that's a complete lie. And I will explain later on the other half an hour we have. I've got evidence to show that it's not global warming, it is climate change, but that has got nothing to do with what we are doing today. We are certainly contributing to climate change,
right?
But it doesn't mean that we are the the solutions to that either. We are not. We are definitely not the culprit of climate change. That's happening
Sebastien,
regardless.
I'm going to cut you off right there. We're going to go to break here in a couple seconds. More Sebastien Martin right after this.
Come hang out with Spaced Out Radio, where we own the night. This is Carl. You can follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, and during the show, use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio to chat with us live. On Instagram, at Dave Scott SOR. On Facebook, give our page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. SOR archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. Come join us, or I will come join you. See you at your window.
At spacedoutradio.com, we have a little bit of everything for you to stay up late. So while you're there, check out our SOR Newswire, where our team brings you stories of the weird and strange to the WTF from around the globe. News on Bigfoot, UFOs, paranormal, Darwinian-type crime tales. It's the stories that the mainstream media usually won't touch. Well, we got them all on the SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com. Looking for the stories of the strange and weird that you will find hard to find anywhere else? Check out the SOR Newswire on our website. Our writers, led by Captain Shirk, are scouring the world for the oddest and most bizarre stories we can find. Everything from weird crime to suspenseful and paranormal. We're working hard for you to bring you the most intriguing news of your day. Check out the SOR Newswire at spacedoutradio.com today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
On the first Tuesday of every month, I encourage you to come along for a journey with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You. Together, we will take a look at how to access the highest expression of yourself and change your life. Consciousness, ET contact, health, and wellness, we can talk about it all. So come along for a spiritual ride with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You, only on Spaced Out Radio.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Canada's largest UFO conference is ready to roll in Toronto this September 21st and 22nd at the Alien Cosmic Expo. This year is about the experience. Listen to the stories of Dave Scott, Travis Walton, Paula Harris, Grant Cameron, Ryan Stacey, Richard Dolan, Leslie Mitchell-Clark, and more. Get your tickets now at aliencosmicexpo.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
We are getting ready to relaunch the SOR Space Travelers Club at spacedoutradio.com. For $5 a month, you can join us for a plethora of features found nowhere else. Hang out in a private chat room during the show and after party. You can check out some exclusive content and a store specifically for you, as well as a private listener forum where you can post your thoughts, stories, and pictures. The SOR Space Travelers Club, coming soon to spacedoutradio.com.
The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother is Watching.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Appreciate each and every one of you for being with us. Tomorrow night on the program, I'm bringing in some friends for the SOR Paranormal Roundtable, 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. Hi to everyone listening in on UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans, WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, KDUN AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon, and KZFX 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California. On the digital side, hi to everyone listening in on Revolution Radio and Deep Talk Radio. Remember, you can check out all of our archives for free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Solonix is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. Currently under construction. We're redoing it because of popular demand, so stay tuned. It'll be going in a couple of weeks. Tonight we are talking with Sebastien Martin from Ensuho. We've been talking about the Granger Taylor weird disappearance back in November of 1980. But we're going to get more into UFOs, climate, and all of that fun stuff here in the next few minutes. Welcome back to the show, Sebastien. What a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate that.
UFOs and the climate. We were talking about it right before the break.
Yes.
And you believe there is some sort of similarities between the two.
Yes. I believe that while the ETs don't want us to be dying off on the planet from the disasters we've created to ourselves, that's what we believe. We believe that we are the responsible factor of climate change. I don't believe that for a second. I do believe that, yes, we have contributed to it, but on a mass scale, on a long-term scenario, we may be representing 1% of the actual climate change situation. And yet, the governments have been, decided to tax us on carbon taxes and justifying that responsibility for saying, you know what, you have to pay more tax. They did the same thing with the PST in Canada. As you know, in British Columbia, we pay PST, and yet, it's a provincial tax that's was not supposed to be staying for more than, 2 or 3 years, and, it's been there for how long? 20? So when you think about that, you have government officials who are using that excuse to puncture, take more money from the labor classes, the working class, say, you know what, we can justify that. You read in the news that you spend too much on plastics and you throw away too much, and you're responsible for acidifying the oceans and creating too much carbon in the air. Even breathing becomes like a luxury. So, you have to pay more tax. And that's basically far from the truth. The real story is that climate change has happened many times over for the last 4 billions of years on the planet. We only see things short term. Politicians see things short term. They don't see the outcome of whatever they do. It's always about 4 years at a time, and if they can drag it to like up to 100 years, they're happy about it. That becomes like their their legacy. But when you think about the ice age that happened over time, the planet was completely surrounded by ice for like a 10-kilometer wall of ice, probably about 3 times or 4 times over since the last 4 billions of years. And the ice age that the people experienced like 10,000 years ago and before that was about to extinct the human race. And they found evidence that we all come from a small cave close to the ocean in South Africa, because that's where the last remaining traces of humanity survived the ice age. But again, when you think about that, were they responsible for climate change then? Or were they just no. I mean, cavemen were just crop gatherers, or they were not polluting as much as we do today, and yet they suffered the consequences of living on the planet. We are just a small portion of the planet. 7 billions of people today on the planet doesn't represent much. If you put them together, they could probably fit within a small portion of California. So we are just a small ants on an anthill, and the planet will survive us. If we disappeared, it happened in the past. It destroyed, dinosaurs. It destroyed, many things over and over and over. That's part of the sacred, aspect of the Earth. It will survive us. I'm not worried about the planet. I'm more worried about humanity as a whole, short term, because we believe that by reversing the effects of climate change today, for consuming less plastic or recycling, even recycling today, like as you know, in British Columbia, the recycling is not even sent out. It's not even being recycled. It's being trashed and put on huge piles in a landfill, because nobody wants to buy it. Nobody wants to use it to recycle it. It would take too much money to recycle the energy that they have there stored in a landfill, so they just leave it there. So we believe that we do something good for recycling, but it's just we're just comforting our minds. But the reality of the situation, politically speaking, is not happening. So we are living in a very interesting time where we are going to be seeing some major changes. We already are. I mean, you've probably seen like the weather, the storm, like we had a windstorm in the wintertime that blew up lots of trees. It happened back, I believe, in 2006, when all the trees in Stanley Park, fell down and all of that. So it's becoming more and more common, but that's just nothing compared to what could happen down the line. If you got major disasters happening on the planet because of climate change, we may see some power plant shutdowns, nuclear power plant shutdowns, which may lead to potential disasters as well. Like it happened in Fukushima. Look what happened there, just one-off. And we are going to be living with the consequences for millions of years coming forward. Now we just don't talk about it because it's not politically correct to talk about it. We don't talk about the cancers arising from that. How the radioactivity washes off the BC shores every day. We don't talk about this. We are going to swim and fish, happily every day because it's part of the industry. It's short-term memory. But when you think about the repercussions of what we are doing today, we think that we are responsible for all of that. And like I said, we are partly responsible. But, if those changes happened and occurred many times over the last 4 billions of years on the planet, what we're experiencing today is that the Earth is actually moving away from the sun on an ellipse. And it's not a perfect circle. So right now we are moving away from the sun, and the planet is becoming cooler, not warmer. But by doing that, it's also shifting the poles, is shifting the frequencies and the Gulf Stream around, which generates all of these disasters on the planet and more extreme weather. But it doesn't mean that we are responsible for all of these changes. It's just part of nature. And so when you think about Tesla, when you think about NASA, when you think about all these agencies who are thinking about creating colonies of planets, they are not doing that because it's an experience. It would be nice if we did it. I think they're just doing it because they know that we have no future on this planet as we know it. Unless we want to become like the cavemen and survive in a small cave in South Africa. Back then, they didn't have many human beings living around compared to what we have today. The disastrous effect of that change in climate will be devastating. I don't think we'll be able to survive because we are creatures of comfort. We rely on our nice TVs, nice entertainment, nice sofas. We don't know how to survive. We rely on the supermarkets to buy our foods, for whatever it's GMOs and everything else. We just buy whatever is out there, whatever is being promoted and sold. We just completely lost touch with who we are as human beings. We don't think like nature. We, like a creature, like if you think of a gazelle approaching a lion saying, hey, do you want to become friends with me? That doesn't happen in nature. But we would try to befriend the most psychotic person on the planet because we want to give it a try, because we are nice, because, we don't know. We think. So that's our downside. We are not very close to nature anymore because we evolved beyond humanity in a way. We evolved beyond the humankind as it used to be back in 10,000 years ago. So that's the big danger piece today that we are facing as a reality, long term, not short term, but long term. We're going to be adapting to everything because humanity and everything else on the planet survived because they developed what's called the survival instinct. We survive because we are survivalists by nature. We do. We always tend to see the best outcome. And, even today, even as creatures of comfort, we try to see the best thing, the best outcome. How can we solve this? How can we, survive a disaster or something? There's always something happening. We're very social creatures. Therefore, we want to see the best results coming out and we want to survive. That's the thing. The reason why we're on the top of the food chain today, we don't have clothes, we don't have fur to keep us warm, but we adapted. That's what makes us different from everything else. But when you consider climate change, it's way bigger than humanity. And I think that we have to face reality here that down the line, agencies and will have no choice but leaving the planet to live somewhere else. And I don't like the idea of it. I hate the idea of it. But do we have a choice? It might not happen in our lifetime, Dave, but it might happen for our children. We have to think about that because
absolutely we do.
The short term solutions won't work. Doesn't matter how much money you spend towards cleaning up the oceans. Today we have new species of cetaceans. We have new species of fish in the oceans because they adapt to the change. They adapt to the acidity. It doesn't mean they will die off. They will simply adapt. Are we going to be able to adapt in the same sense, like short term? No, we won't. We already changed in the last 100 years. We used to be shorter, not as smart. not with the same amount of technology as we used to have. I'm just talking about the last 50 to 100 years. We've learned a great deal from technological advances and medicine. We no longer have to deprive someone from their blood, to remove the fever, which happened 400 years ago. We've learned from all of these mistakes. We've documented those. We have history to rely on to help us grow. This also is helping us change our consciousness. It's allowing us to evolve and go beyond what we've experienced on the planet, let alone the stars. We talk about, what's happening out there and all the theories or the quantum physics. Now we have quantum computers that can show us that two marbles can be seen at two different places at once, even if there's only one marble to start with. But this is what quantum technology can do today. It's physical. They can see it. So we can learn from all of that, but it doesn't mean that we can survive the potential climate disasters that will come forward. I've seen those. I had visions of them, and they are pretty daunting. I'm scared by them. I'm just worrying that we are shying away from the truth and putting a veil of lies right in front of we are living in denial because we think that we can solve the problem because we are survivalists. We want to see the best outcome, even if there's none. Like down the road, I don't see one coming. We're just surviving short term, not long term.
We've got about 7 minutes left with you tonight.
Okay.
And then we got to get to the news. I think you might be sticking around for the news. I'll leave that up to you.
Sure, that's fine. I don't feel tired.
But in regards to UFOs.
Yep.
Earlier this week, the United States Navy announced that they were actually starting to build their own review process for reports because too many pilots were having these incidents with anomalous aircraft that they could not explain and were getting frustrated that they had no place to report it to.
Right.
What does this say now that the United States Navy is admitting that they are now collecting reports on UFOs?
Well, they have no choice. They face those consequences when those documents got released because they released them. They wanted to. And again, it's part of the disclosure movement. I've been sharing this for the last year or two, and it's already happening. We have Grant Cameron who documented it as well. He's following it very avidly in Canada, and I think he will be giving injustice because he believes, like me, like we met at the same conference. You were there, the architects of the new paradigm in Vancouver. And when we talked, that's exactly what he said to me. He said that I believe that there's disclosure happening in 2020 from the people I know. And I told him exactly the same thing from the people I'm in touch with as well. So there are two different camps. There are the ones who simply won't allow disclosure because they believe that this will actually damage all the private corporations that are contracting or subcontracting projects to the Pentagon and other places, and they are earning billions of dollars from these projects. That's a reality. And that's not in their favor because if they have access to reverse engineering arising from alien technology, it's not in their best interest to release that information to the public because they could lose billions of dollars worth of contracts. So that's one camp. That's what I would call the Illuminati group, the dark side, whatever you want to call it. And then you have the people who actually want to help humanity because they see that there's no other outcome but seeing down the line that exactly what I said about trying to escape the potential climate change that will happen. And we'll have to move away from the Earth, and there's no better choice but disclosing information, including the warp drive. That the warp drive technology that is known by NASA, trying to accelerate the travel times from going to the Earth to Mars within 3 days, compared to 3 months as it is today, with the regular engines that they have. It's impossible. They won't be able to achieve this because by the time they get to Mars, the astronauts or whoever will be on board will be so depleted and they will be so exhausted that they won't be able to function on the planet. So, but there are some stations today that you can see on Google Earth, not Google Earth, Google Mars, I think it is. We can see some stations with white domes and everything else on Mars that they already created for the future colonies coming in there. How did they send those buildings on Mars? Nobody knows this, but it's there.
Right?
It's already there. So they already know that. They're already preparing humanity for this change. It's happening one way or the other. Doesn't matter if you like it or not. So the climate change aspect and the carbon tax is just a short-term thing that we just give out more cash to politicians so they can actually use that cash to go to the Caribbeans on their private jets. It's got nothing to do with saving humanity or trying to make a change to the planet. It's just ludicrous to believe that. So, in my opinion, the ETs know this. There are some groups that are not so much working with government agencies, but they certainly share information. It doesn't mean that they want to help. They try to help many times over in the past, and they've been turned down by the government. If they were, it's because they want to crash their crafts and reverse engineer the technology so they don't owe them anything. So they have some kind of leverage that the ETs didn't want them to have. But there's more than just one type of race of ETs out there that governments have been in touch with. Paul earlier talked about this. He said that 5 races were in contact with our governments to date. I think it's more than that, but he said 5. So you definitely have an interaction going on, and the Trump government is looking ahead of that because he's not part of the Illuminati group. He's not part of those New World Order movements. He's acting on his own, and he's trying to give sense to the UFO reality. You have to realize that Trump is best friends. He's very good friends with Jesse Ventura. And Jesse Ventura, he was a wrestler.
The former wrestler.
Exactly.
Yes.
Became a governor of some place, Wisconsin or something. And then he basically learned from his campaign to become governor from a wrestler. The guy, Jesse Ventura, has done many shows and TV series on HARP and conspiracy theories and all of that. And Trump is actually very close to that. He actually likes Jesse Ventura for his stuff. Like he's trying to understand what's the reality behind all of these things. And yet he can't talk about it publicly, but it's a reality that he's aware of. Right? He knows everything about Jesse Ventura. And so when you think about this new space program or space force that Trump is trying to create, that's never going to happen, by the way. But there are certain organizations or programs that would be created in order to provide more disclosure. And that one I just talked about with the Navy is one of them.
And on that note, my friend, we only have about 30 seconds left with you tonight before we get to the news. I think you're going to stick around. I'm not too sure. I'll leave that up to you. But do me a favor. Tell everybody where they can find your YouTube channel.
Well, they can go on YouTube and type in Nsuho. It's Nsuho. And I post some videos on there, and I also like videos that I watch. And people can just see what I like and view what I'm documenting. I think everything I'm trying to document and release to the people is very much in touch with what they can use for their own advancement and their own survival down the line, because we need to adapt to those changes. And it's not by lying to ourselves that we live within a world that we can change today, because it's already too late.
Right on. Sebastien Martin, thanks for coming on. The SOR Newswire and the Thought of the Day coming up next on Spaced Out Radio.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Coming up this September 21st and 22nd, all UFO eyes will be focused on Toronto for the 4th Annual Alien Cosmic Expo. Come listen to some of the biggest names and experiencers in ufology. Travis Walton, Paul Hellyer, Richard Dolan, Paula Harris, Grant Cameron, Randy Kramer, and Spaced Out Radio's own Dave Scott. Tickets are on sale now at aliencosmicexpo.com.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com. Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio. Come get spooked at the 4th Annual Forest Moon Paracon in Cedar-Woolley, Washington, Saturday, September 28th. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot. Speakers include Mike Morin and Jason Jordan, R. Keith Andrews, and Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and so much more. There will be workshops and a VIP roundtable. Get early bird tickets now at fmparacon.com.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything is an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, hanging out in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Glad you coming along for the ride. Sebastien Martin's still here with us, and we're going to do the weird, the wacky, the WTF as we get to the SOR Newswire right now. The news is always changing while we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, where we get to the strange, the odd, the head-scratchers of the news of the day. And Sebastien, thanks for hanging out with us. I know you like the fun news.
I do.
So we're going to get to it right now, and we'll get. I'm going to start off with a little bit of a somber story here, but good on the police officers for doing this. This happened right here in British Columbia.
Okay.
All right. In one of the cities called Delta. Delta police were called by an elderly lady who was lonely. So what happened here is, and they haven't released her name, and I don't think they need to, this elderly lady was so upset that her adult children couldn't visit her that she called the police, absolutely distraught, not knowing what to do. All she wanted was to have tea with her children. Chris Lakoff of Delta Police said it warmed her heart when she read the report because officers responded to this elderly lady, and they went to her home to check up on her, and they had some tea with her. Lakoff says, I think our officers are often looking for those little moments where they can get to connect with the community, whether it's giving kids high fives on the playground or other. Honestly, our officers never know what's going to happen sometimes when they drive up. So in this case, finishing with a cup of tea was a really nice way to end this call. The officer notes that the woman who made the call was merely expressing emotional frustrations about not being able to see her family. So good on this police officer for going the distance and having a cup of tea with this lady who was lonely. That's pretty cool, Sebastien?
It is. Well, it's better than hearing stories of cops, shooting at people in the streets, for sure.
Absolutely. Well, the men and women behind the badge, they do a great job for the most part. The only problem is we're only giving the news to the bad apples. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
All right, we got a Walmart story here. And it's not about some of those weird photos of people wearing probably what they shouldn't be wearing outside of their house. But no, Walmart, because of the fierce competition they are getting from Amazon and other online retailers these days, is experimenting with digitizing its physical stores to manage them more efficiently, keep costs under control, and make the shopping experience more pleasant. So today, the retail giant is opening its intelligence retail lab. It's a neighborhood market grocery store on Long Island with thousands of cameras suspended from the ceiling, combined with other technology like sensors on shelves, will monitor the store in real time so its workers can quickly replenish products or fix other problems. This technology, shown first to the media, will also be able to spot spills, track when shelves need to be restocked, and know when shopping carts are running low. Heaven forbid, Sebastien, that the shopping carts run low. Honestly, I hate when that happens. You pull up to any store and you can't get a shopping cart, and the only one left is the one with like all the papers and rotten food in them, and they always have that wobbly wheel that never wants to turn properly. I hate that one. I'm a picky shopping cart guy, man.
But at the same time, though, how about invasion of privacy from the shoppers with all these cameras around? How do they know that those footages won't go and be released somewhere else? They've done it already with people dressing up like weirdly. They didn't ask the consent of those people, releasing the information. They never signed a contract, with the Walmart saying, you can use my footage, somewhere else. It happened.
Yeah, but it's so good. It is so good.
I know. It's gossip. But what I'm saying is, on top of that, Walmart, is also known to pay their staff part-time, so they don't have to pay, CPP and EI. So they basically are trying to save money on their staff as well. So they now have those computers or, those scales when you can actually do your own shopping yourself. You can scan it, and I use it myself because I find it sometimes quicker. If I have a few objects, if I want to buy something like a battery, whatever, I just go to Walmart and just buy that and then just leave. And I don't have to interact with someone else who say, hey, do you want to buy the MasterCard's Walmart? Just, no, thanks. But, you basically avoid that interaction, and those cameras is just like another step forward from you mentioned about digitizing Walmart, but it's not just that. I think they're going to be moving to AI technology pretty soon as well, where they won't have to even bother with employees at all.
Well, and that's a problem. I mean, the more we put AI into these stores, the more entry-level jobs are going to be eliminated. That isn't a good sign. And here's the line of the story that really gets me. Walmart is upset because they are looking at Amazon's online sales on global merchandise, which reached $122.98 billion last year. Billion.
Yeah.
Now, you look at Walmart, they are a multi-billion-dollar corporation for people going shopping in their areas. Well, the families making multi-billions, they're paying their employees literally pennies.
Right.
Minimum wage. All right. And those people are having a tough time surviving. So I think this move is not so much out of trying to enhance the customer experience. I think it's about greed in trying to cut into Amazon's global online profits, and that's what it seems to be.
Yeah, it's capitalism. Capitalism is the word.
Absolutely. Hey, do you have an Instagram account? I know I do.
I don't.
Well, apparently the CIA now does, as the Central Intelligence Agency launched their very own Instagram account today, verification badge and all. Their first photo was a fake desk with a wig, a trench coat, headphones, a clock, some files with a stamp on them, pictures of drawings of people with sunglasses on. It was interesting. Mm-hmm. The launch came as no real surprise, seeing as CIA Director Gina Haspel announced last week that the intelligence agency would begin building out a presence on the photo-sharing platform during a talk at a university in Alabama. The CIA also already boasts sizable followings on other platforms like Facebook and Twitter, but they were just a little short on falling into Instagram. Another way to watch us, Sebastien. Another way to watch us.
Yeah, if you allow me, I would like to actually comment on social media briefly about my own experience with social media. Is if I have I have a public profile about NSUHO as well, and I receive a lot of requests sometimes from people I don't know, many of the times, but the people who are asking me to be befriending them, I can see that the kind of affiliations they have, if it's usually from the Democratic Party in America, so they could just go and talk rubbish about Trump all the time. And I can see that those profiles are not real, and those people are sending those requests to people. So it can be broadcasted, it can be shared, and that's how it goes into the social media. That's how it can be spreading out. And that's what I believe some agencies work on behind closed doors, being heavily involved in the social media aspect, so they can decide, who wants to vote against Trump or not. I think the social media aspect is huge in that, today. I think they are, especially before the elections, they are using it more and more and more, so they can sway their messages to social media all the time.
Absolutely. The account already has about 1,400 followers as of this afternoon, quickly drawn attention of other Instagram users, basically saying, "Welcome to Instagram, Gina Haspel is a rock star," to MK Ultra being spammed over and over and over again. Oh, yes, it is a lot of fun. All right, we're moving on here. We're going to California, where the town of Lincoln, California, uses thousands of sheep and goats to prepare for the fire season by cutting down the vegetation. It's a good idea. However, Scott Russo's wife checked out her backyard, and there were literally hundreds of half-naked sheep running around their backyard checking out what was going on. Gives a whole new meaning to counting sheep before you go to bed, because literally they could do them. Russo tried to scare them out of the yard, but they just simply refused to leave or couldn't figure out where the exit was. So literally, he had to physically lead them out of the gate while his wife stood behind the herd, shaking a tambourine. Great, we got hippie sheep now. Apparently, the sheep weren't fans of the percussion instrument, though. No, they wanted Guns N' Roses, as the animals, now clearly upset, slowly poured out of a tiny exit. For whatever reason, getting on the family's trampoline and jumping up and down caused the sheep to leave even faster. And finally tonight, before we get to the thought of the day, we got to hit Florida. What's a night of Spaced Out Radio's SOR Newswire without hitting Florida? I hope you're sitting down for this one, Sebastien.
Okay.
All right. So, Rolando Gonzalez, age 57, was arrested earlier this month by Martin County Sheriff deputies after they stopped his van at an intersection. The van had traveled 30 miles per hour in a 35-mile-per-hour zone, but he was kind of drifting from side to side. So when they pulled him over, they smelled booze. His shorts were urine-stained, and the zipper was open. Not looking very good for old Rolando. So they give him the old DUI drunk test. Have you been drinking? Denies it. And then they start putting him through the actual sobriety test, where old Rolando says, nope, not doing it when he was asked to stand on one leg. His reasoning? I'm too fat. He declined to take that portion of the test because he's too fat. He's listed at 400 pounds. In other contexts, a Rubenesque physique is celebrated, but not when it comes to a DUI charge. Now, Gonzalez, who has addresses in Stewart and Miami Lakes, was taken to jail. Breath test measured Gonzalez's blood alcohol level at 1.58. That's almost twice the legal limit of 0.08. Mm-hmm. I'm going to try that next time I get pulled over. Even though I don't drink, I still drive. If I get pulled over, why were you speeding, Dave Scott? I'm too fat. I'm going to try it.
Good
All
one.
All right, let's get to the thought of the Dave.
Am I hearing silence?
Yes, because the music is playing in the background, my friend, as the thought of the Dave happens every night at this time. See, Sebastien can't hear the music. He's just got to use his imagination. He'll have to go back in the replay to check it on out. Thought of the Dave happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air. Today's thought of the Dave is as follows. What disappearance of a person do you find strange? It's amazing how many people follow David Paulides' Missing 411. Most of the answers were all about Missing 411. Robert, Missing 411. Tim, guess what? Missing 411. John, D.B. Cooper. That's a good one. D.B. Cooper. I still think he made it. I think he did it for the thrill. I really do. And I think he made it. I don't think it was about the money at all. It's more about the thrill. Chris Dodge, down in Washington State, Forest Moon Paranormal. She agrees. D.B. Cooper case. Also, Amelia Earhart. You think they'll ever find her?
They found her.
Sebastien?
They found her.
Did they really, though? They found her about 137 times already.
Wow. They found a craft and a body, so I think it's pretty conclusive.
All right, Lisa. The little kid in North Carolina this past winter that said a bear looked after him after he disappeared for a couple of days. Do you remember that story in January where that little 3-year-old went missing?
Yep.
I so believe he was taken by a Sasquatch.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I want to believe a little bit too much, but I really want to believe that.
Hey, do you know, talking about missing people, how many people are missing per year in Canada alone?
I know the United States is 1.3 million and 65,000 they have no trace of.
Yeah, it's 100,000 people missing in Canada every year.
Really?
Yep. For like 33 million of people.
That's a lot of people.
It's the same statistics. If you look at America, with over 300 million, 1 million represents exactly the same comparisons as Canada in terms of population range.
Well, we'll have to do that. We'll have to check it on out.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's actually an interesting statistic.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get to Gail. Maria Orsic, she may have been the most interesting woman ever. She established the Vril Society in Germany during World War II and was one of the Nazi sources of technical information. It was also believed she received instructions from extraterrestrials on how to build a spacecraft. Her last message before she disappeared was, "No one is staying here." Then she was gone, supposedly flying or in her flying saucer that took her to the Aldebaran solar system. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, or she was sent to Auschwitz by Hitler, because he used to consult her, right? She had the long hair.
Yes,
she was part of the long-haired society.
All right, Bobby says, my ex-girlfriend. She went to the store saying she was going to get some eggs and milk and never came back. Well, that's kind of weird. Did she break up with him or did she really disappear? I want to know that. Sad one from Joy Lynn. My cousin, 7 years ago from Calgary, just disappeared without a trace. Daryl, my fellow co-workers that go to the bathroom and never come back. Oh, I've worked with a few people like that. Gabe, the people who go hiking in the woods that disappear because they were wearing a displeasing clothes color. Are the paranormal creeps really that peaky? All right. Angela, Ray Gracer, Center County District Attorney, happened near me. Catherine, the little kid who dispensary I think she misspelled that. Who disappeared, she meant to say, in a harsh climate, only to show up back a few days later unharmed. Yes, that was the boy in North Carolina. Kelly believes the little toddler in North Carolina. He wants more information. So does his beard. Michael, the mysterious deaths of top microbiologists since 9/11. They are not missing, but many of the deaths are suspicious. The last count I saw was around 120. Final word goes to Jamie. He says, Paul McCartney. I find it strange that the person they replaced him with sucks just as bad as the original. That's your thought of the day and your SOR Newswire for the night, put together by Captain Shirk, our intrepid news director. All the news brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. Hey, Sebastien, thanks so much for coming on the show tonight. What a pleasure to have you here.
It was great to be on the air with you, Dave. Thanks for having me again.
Oh, we'll do it again very, very soon, my friend. Hey, tomorrow night on the show, make sure you tune in because it is the final Friday of the month, which means, guess what? It's time where I'm going to gather some friends. We're going to hang out for the SOR Paranormal Roundtable. My panel will not know the questions. Only I shall know them as we break down the month that was in the weird, strange, wacky, paranormal, supernatural, and more. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. A special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, in our chat rooms tonight on Facebook, the SOR Space Travelers, Revolution Radio, Spreaker, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio, wherever you may be. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for tuning in, telling your friends all about us. That's how we grow together, my friends. Because together, my friends, say it with me, we own the night. I will talk to you in 21 hours from now. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Good night.